And now these days it's kind of hard for kids or anyone to be their true self because everyone wants to just fit in.
Right.
And sometimes fitting in is not the best thing to do, but in a sense of ego, you're trying to feed your ego. So you want everyone to, either feel like you're either just like them or cool or whatever you want to do to fit in. But at the end of the day, that could leave you where? Exactly, a lot of tough places. So to me, I feel like ego is just the mask that people put on to kind of like hide what's truly inside.
What's going on, ARvibes community? Thanks for joining us here at the ARvibes Good Vibes podcast. We have another special episode for you guys this week, and we're going to be talking about ego death, and stages of ego. Before we kick it off, we got Akeem, we got Mike, and we have John again this week. You guys say what's up real quick?
Hey, how you doing?
Going, guys.
What's happening, guys? How you guys doing?
All right. So we're going to get into it now. So we're just going to have open conversation. Like other weeks, you've heard the lucid dreaming conversation, other ones we've done, and we're just going to get going. So first thing, the reason this podcast came up this week is Mike and I were talking offline, and I was doing a meditation, and this just came to me like as information. Like, you realize that ego comes in stages in a sense, and it wasn't necessarily ego itself. This is the message I got was, you're a child, and there's no ego. You're purely working from your heart. Everything's good. And your ego is slowly being built by the outside world, parents, teachers. It's slowly starting to get put into place. And then you get to a certain teenage year where your ego's there. And now you're building your ego yourself because you're taking what was already built for you and you're continuing to build that ego until you get to a point where you're ready to get rid of the ego. And that essentially, so when I say ego death, I think fully awakened. Because in the beginning, when I had my first spiritual awakening, I thought, like, this is it. Holy shit, I'm awake. Like, whoa. And then I had another spiritual awakening like 3 months later, and I was like, whoa, there's more than one spiritual awakening. What's happening? So I don't think ego death is actually a thing until you're fully awake. Like, I think it's a huge process, but that's how I viewed it, as a starting point of no ego. Then you got to live with the ego, and then you have to be reborn. You have to get rid of the ego and start over and join the collective consciousness. So to start, ego, I'm going to tell you my view on it, and then someone jump in and let's just keep rolling with it. But ego, in a sense, is, from what I got from all my research over time, is it's how we try to identify ourselves with what we are versus how we're all one. We're all a collective consciousness, the animals, the nature, the every human. Yet we try to say, I am this, I am that, I'm this, I'm that, I do this, I do that. A simple one of, I like this, I don't like that, but this is my hand, my feet hurt, my legs hurt. So subconsciously, humans, we always like to say, I this, I that, I this. But then when we're referring to the outside body, it's like it's not part of us. And we subconsciously know that. Or that's where the ego's built. You're like, again, you say, my hands hurt. Why not I hurt? You know what I mean? It's not part of you. That's not a part of you. It doesn't, your hand is something different from you and it hurts. You get where I'm going? So ego essentially is how you, from my view, is how you identify with everything and how you make it about yourself in a sense. And that's how I'm going to start off. Who wants to jump in and just give, what is ego to you? Akeem, you jump in first, okay?
Well, ego to me, I feel like with ego, it comes the duality of self and kind of like you were saying, kind of like the image you want everyone to see you in. But sometimes it could get so distorted that people kind of lose their self and forget what self even is. So in a way, it's like you watch TV or you go to school and it's separated by jocks, upperclassmen, lowerclassmen, stuff like that. And in a sense, you don't even know, but before you even stepped into high school, you already knew things like that. So you're trying to fit in, but natural selection, or so they call it, or whatever they want to feed into people, it becomes a point where it's kind of like you're either going to try to be something or not if a group of people are doing it rather than be your true self. And now these days it's kind of hard for kids or anyone to be their true self because everyone wants to just fit in.
Right.
And sometimes fitting in is not the best thing to do, but in a sense of ego, you're trying to feed your ego. So you want everyone to, either feel like you're either just like them or cool or whatever you want to do to fit in. But at the end of the day, that could leave you where? A lot of exactly, a lot of tough places. So to me, I feel like ego is just the mask that people put on to kind of like hide what's truly inside. Because at the end of the day, we all know when you shed that mask and you shed that out of there, that character that you played during the day, everyone has those thoughts of
it's freezing.
What else is
Give it
there?
a second. Good old Zoom.
Yeah. Am I back?
Yeah.
Are you guys all frozen?
No.
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 Akeem, I can hear you fine. Akeem, I can hear you fine. I can hear Alex fine, but Alex's video is frozen.
Yeah,
Mike's video is frozen. Mike's live now.
Somebody was
I can see
calling
Mike. Okay. Now, Alex
is frozen.
Alex is frozen. Dun, dun, dun. Dude, it's the energies. And energies at work. No. Oh,
Hello.
there he goes.
Alex is back.
All right, you're
Hello.
back, man.
Hold on, guys. Did everyone get disconnected there? What the hell?
No, well, no, me and Akeem were live the whole time. It was a good conversation.
Did it say it was recorded? Was it recorded?
It's still recording on my end.
All right,
Yeah.
good. I froze up and lost everything. And then
froze up too, dude.
You all did. I was
crazy.
looking at all
Froze
three
up.
of you frozen. Should we start this
Nobody
over
called
or
me.
just keep going? Let's just keep going.
Keep going.
You can give it to your brother for editing, can't you?
I edit these myself. No, but still, if I lost everything you just said, then we don't know what you said. Well, I'm sure it's there because if you guys are still going, it was recorded. We'll be fine. I don't know where you left off, so Akeem, jump back in. I don't know where you left off. It just reconnected for me.
I was kind of saying,
like,
end of the day, after you get home, every single person, it doesn't matter who you are. Once you shed that character of your daily routine, seeing everyone you see, whether it's your job, school, wherever you go during the day, without outside of your comfort zone, at the middle of the night or whenever, you always have those thoughts of what if, is there more? Is this the reality? Is this just it? And most people don't act on that. They're kind of stagnant in a way where they keep their mind caged because it's like they can't see themselves being anything more than they already are.
Right. I like that you said that too, because another thing I learned about it when I was researching when I was coming through my awakening and researching it was they say think of life as a dream. You decide to come down here and then you're playing characters, and that's exactly this persona. It's a persona. Who do I want to be today? And think of an actor. That's what an actor is doing. They're just putting on who am I going to be for this scene. And I can't remember the exact three terms they said, but it was like feeling accepted, feeling there was like three ways that really like they categorized it. Was like wanting to feel accepted, wanting to feel needed, things like that are what is ego is in a sense. Like you need people to like you, you need people to accept you, and that's where you start putting on that persona of who I am. Who am I? What do I do? I'm the funny guy in class. I'm the one who makes all the jokes.
Yeah.
I'm in a bad mood today, but I'm still going to come in and make jokes because that's who I am. That's me. Yeah.
So
and that's what the quote comes from, like, the funniest kid is always usually the one mostly in pain. Because he likes to make other people laugh, but usually no one ever makes them laugh or cheers them up or checks on them.
No. How I was taught, like ego, I like how you said, like, take off the mask, Akeem, because I was taught in treatment like 5 years ago when I first started going to learn to take off your mask, stop playing somebody and just try to be who you are. And I was also taught that now in the 12 steps, you have the fourth step, which is all your resentments, all the forgiveness that you have to give because you resent your parents for doing this, you resent your sister for doing this to you, or your brother, or anybody, whoever did something wrong to you, you hold on to that. And if you don't get over it, that's where your ego comes in. because
Yep.
you aren't going to let it have it done to you again. So you put your foot down. You know what I mean? You have to learn how to be selfless. You have to learn how to live that altruistic lifestyle, no matter what. It doesn't matter if the person did you wrong. Still find the silver lining in it, and just keep doing good. Push it forward and do good on the next one. Who
Yeah.
cares what the person did to you? Which is not easy being a human, honestly.
No, it's
Exactly.
not. It's not. And like I'm a huge believer, and we were talking about it earlier before we went live. You choose to come on Earth as a soul up in the universe. You choose, hey, I want to go and do this. But from my deep understanding, and it's just my point of view, is when you're choosing, you know exactly what person you're going into. You know what body you're going into, and you know how hard that life's going to be. It's almost like it's a trial. Like, hey, this is what you're going to. And the strongest souls like to pick the hardest challenges, but then we get here and ego starts developing and we forget. And then we're the victim to everything. Like, oh, I'm living with parents who hate me. I was just given up for adoption. Now I was beaten in my foster care home. It's a horrible life to live. But if you let that define who you are now, it's hard to accept that you chose to come to that life because you knew you were strong enough to help someone get past that life. You chose that life. Just like greedy souls who aren't good souls come down to the bad, like the lives that are already set to run the world. And it's like, oh, that's the one I want right there. But then how do you let that play out? You know what I mean?
So
if you guys,
I'm over here and I've been taking some notes here about what I want to talk about because I didn't know what I wanted to talk about coming into this conversation tonight. So I'm just hearing you guys talk and I'm thinking about ego. We're talking about the death of the ego, the distortion that the ego creates, the separation that the ego creates, the mask that people wear, which is what the ego is, and how people use the ego to hide and what they have to do. They have to shed that. And Mike was talking about impressions and how people can do those imprints and rebirth. And I thought that was amazing because in my meditations, that's exactly what it is. It's more like, to me, the ego is shedding other people's perspectives of you and making you believe their truths, like making you believe their perspective, if that makes sense. Like, I mean, yeah, no?
from how I heard that, are you saying that's dissolving ego or building ego? Because if I'm worried about, at least my view, if I'm worried about how people are viewing me and perceiving me, I feel like that's me worrying about ego. Like,
so talk
I'm
about
be
talk about the teacher that says you're never going to be good enough. You know that those grades aren't good. That mother that says, you know, you're not doing your chores or whatever, or that father that says you're not doing that job right, or whatever that case might be. Then having that being instilled in you is now you taking on that identity or that ego, if you will, and that's shedding those different layers, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
100%.
Where OCD comes from everything. OCD, everything.
So I don't see it as destroying the ego, is it the ego, or is it the imprints, or is it finding the ego, finding the true ego, and having one with the ego and the soul? I don't know.
I think it's more about like joining that collective consciousness, like understanding you are not here as just you. Like we've talked before, like you're a reflection of the person that you're talking to. We're all connected in that sense, and understanding that. And I feel like you guys are all frozen.
No.
Oh, only you.
Only you.
I mean, you got audio. You're here audio, but not video.
Yeah, your video's just frozen.
Nope, I think he's gone.
He probably jumped out. But I mean, that's how I get the way you guys are describing it. Like,
I get what you're saying too. I totally understand. It's being aware. That's the way I look at it. Is be aware of it. You because my ego still steps into play no matter what. Like I still act out of character at numerous of times. You know what I mean? But you have to center yourself after that. You can't just let it rolling and keep on building up.
See, I see
Well,
ego.
yeah, you
I
chose to
see
play the game.
ego
acknowledge it and
as
apologize it. Like
See,
if
I
you
see
did
ego
wrong,
as
apologize.
cockiness. I see ego
Yeah,
as cockiness, like
That too, yes, definitely,
that's a part of it.
pretentious. You know, like being
definitely.
Yeah,
cocky, being pretentious,
Ego is
being.
so much. It's so much. You could pick an ego out of anything. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Like
Oh, of course.
it,
Yeah, yeah. You,
having OCD is a form of ego. I fully believe that because look, you learn that from when you grew up. That's an impression. Like, damn, I didn't do that right before, so I got to do it better this time. That's an ego. Like that, you're constantly trying to do better than the next person
that's a good
or
one.
even
That's
yourself.
Yeah, that's
You,
building into your ego, 100%.
yeah,
The ego is the fake you. The ego is the fake you, but everything that made you. All the
yeah,
yeah.
Speaking of the imprints, I
literally.
want to share an analogy I heard on Joe Rogan's podcast. I forget who he was talking to, and I'm sorry to go right into psychedelics so early into this conversation, but
Ah,
psychedelics are known by the people who research them. They're known as an easy tool to help progress to the ego death. It's just natural.
Yes.
But here's the way that this analogy was made. It was, think of your mind as a mountain covered in snow, and every thought you have and every impression of who you are, building your ego, is you sliding down on a sled, right? But what happens is the more you keep sliding down on those thoughts, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper to the point where it's hard to get out of those thoughts. You start sliding down, the sled just connects to the path that's already there and it's going. And essentially what a psychedelic does is like a fresh slate of snow, like start over,
Yeah.
make new paths. So like there's other ways without having to do psychedelics. But like that was one of the best analogies I heard of ego is it's you're on a slope in your mind and you're making paths from day one. And it's again with your mom tells you or think of this, you see a video on YouTube, right? And you start acting out as that character, like ah ha, ha, ha. And your parents say, "What are you doing? That's not you. Stop trying to be that person. Be yourself." Instantly, this kid thinks, "Who am I now?" Now that kid has to put that ego. That's what ego really starts getting going. Like I can't copy that. Who am I then? Okay, I don't do that. That's not me. What
Because
is me? And you start building your
that's a
ego
lot
up
of
right then.
people's, that's a lot of people's problem. They
Yep.
don't know who they are, and
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, if you think about
yeah.
it, when you walk around and people look at you weird because you know who you are, but that's
Yep.
not your problem. That's their problem. They don't know who they are, so they can approach you anyway and say whatever to you. But in a sense, could they really? Could they have any effect on your world? And that's the
If you let
power of
them.
knowing, knowledge.
Oh, right,
Knowledge brings
right, right,
power because
right, right,
in any situation, before
right.
anything happens, you're 10 steps ahead. Your
But
thoughts are faster than light, but you don't know
you're
that
being
because people don't understand. Ego to them is way better because the materialistic world
Yes.
is where the ego lives.
Yep.
So to
That
them,
reminds me of anyone who says money is what matters. I need money and that's all I care about. And every time I hear someone that says that money's more important than this and that, and I'm like, what you're missing is you're never going to get that money you're trying to get because all that
exactly,
is your ego that's
because you
chasing
put
that.
it above everything else.
Yep. If you just let a higher frequency guide you to what you're supposed to do, if you're in the like that is the biggest thing about awareness in the moment too. That is to me that's one of the best ways to get rid of or start to break the ego and get close to that ego death. And actually, I just thank you. A thought just came right into my head. He just fed me. Essentially, what I was getting through my research on ego is we go from the heart, right? Think of the chakras. I love this topic. I'm a huge believer in just the main seven. The heart's right in the middle. You got three, heart, three. The bottom three are essential to being a human being. You either feel safe and secure financially and physically. You're either creative, sexually happy, or miserable. And you either love yourself, are confident, or you're the opposite. And those are the three basic chakras needed to be a human being. You need those, and you need if you can't balance those, life is going to be miserable. Then the heart comes in, and I call that the balance points from the post I shared earlier. Is once you get to the heart, and I think kids naturally, and if you guys watched the video I did the other day, you're naturally every year of your life, you're building up your chakras. From a 1-year-old, all a 1-year-old cares about is staying alive. They're hungry, they start screaming. They don't want to die. They can't do it. They just want to be here. They're like, what is my job here? Is just to be alive. Then they're 2, and it's, I want this, I want that, I don't want that, I don't want this. They're starting to build up who they are on their own. You know what I mean? And then why am I losing my train of thought? No, all right. So then essentially you get to the heart, and that's where you're fully connected. And then people start to mold you. You start to mold yourself into that ego, and you go up to the brain. And then you're living in your brain until you get to a point where you have to realize you need to go back to your heart. And that's what I look at in ego death too, is for my research. It's when you get from the brain and go back down to the heart and operate from the heart and understand, like, the ego's, I'm this, I'm that, I like this, I like that. And the cockiness, it's, you need to kill that aspect and come back down to where you were a kid. The inner child is, if you focus on the heart chakra, inner child meditation is one of the best ones. It's, your inner child's never gone. It's never gone. The child's there, and then you lose the child at a certain age. The child goes bye-bye, and you turn into who your persona is until you decide to go back and find child inside of you again, you know?
Yeah.
How about, like, what's your guys' views on, all right, so let's help people understand what ego death essentially looks like, because I'm a huge believer, and that's a big part of the spiritual awakening process. And like I said earlier, to me, that's the end game. Like, when you fully have that ego death, that's when I feel like you're fully awakened. And Akeem, I'm not gonna say that's you, but I'm assuming that's you. I can tell you vibrate way higher than I do. I know that. You probably understand what I'm saying more than anything. Like, do you feel like you still need to dissolve ego, or have you had that full ego death? Just you know what you are for the rest of your eternity, your existence, your everything. You know that.
Well, honestly, I feel like I experienced what I call ego death, but your ego, I feel like, is never fully dead in a
It
sense.
can come in, yeah, it can come back.
Exactly. Only reason it's kind of like then it becomes just a mask,
Right.
where you use it in a sense of camouflage. Well, not in a way of camouflage, but in a way of you knowing who you are can come off as not okay to other people of lower frequencies. They don't understand it, and people hate what they don't understand. So that's why, the phrase dumb it down and things like that come into play. But why should that even be a term in today's society? Because evolution is kind of downplayed, and regression is kind of upplayed. So in a way of ego death, you got to realize, like, when I had my ego death, I think it was kind of that moment, like you were talking about that video earlier, and you said about how that guy, like, it's kind of like a reading of everything that's ever happened in your entire life. And I truly felt like I was dying. I was in one of these like meditative states, and it felt like I was in a trance. And I remember my wife was laying right next to me, and I remember I was just laying there, and all of a sudden it was like everything was dark. Everything disappeared. My understanding of the universe, of the world, brought me there. It brought me to the understanding of all these walls around me, this bed, this car, all these things don't exist. The only thing that exists is I and the earth and the sun and everything around that's natural, and other people, humans and whatever. Now, understanding this, connecting to the universe and connecting to everything kind of like, it was like, I don't know, everything just disappeared, gone. I don't know where I was. And I felt like I was somewhere else, not here. But when I looked around, it was just darkness around me. And I felt like literally like someone put a hand underneath me, and they're picking me up like if I was like nothing, like a speck of dust. And as I'm rising, it's like I'm hearing this voice, and the voice is saying to me, like, if you were to leave right now, man, have you done everything? Would you have literally done anything you could? What do you want? Do you like it here? If you could get into heaven with no questions asked, nothing, no one was coming with you, you're just going, would you just go?
That's how they trick you to come back, man. That's how they trick you to come back. No, I'm joking.
But honestly, my first thought on it was like, if you think about it like a thinking man, what you've experienced throughout your life, my first thought was, this place is a terrible place. And my first one-way ticket out, I was thinking maybe I would grab at it. But as I felt like I was rising, my first thought was, wow, what about my children? What about my girl? What about my family? What about my friends? What about everyone? What about everyone? They don't know. And then all of a sudden, like, as I'm going up, I'm having this thought process of, what if I could help? And just the sense of literally walking on that line.
Wow.
Every morning, I decide whether or not to jump off that pedestal of thought. The pedestal of thought that leaves you flying at a frequency where you're in heaven. And you just go, you dive down to what? Put your hands down to pull someone out of the flames, because their ego leaves the veils over their eyes. So in a way, in a way, you can't save someone that doesn't want to be saved. You try that every day, but in a way, like, my ego death, I feel like was that moment. I feel like was that moment of choice, the moment of feeling that I could go right now, and you know what? Screw everyone. But at the same time, my empathy would never, ever let me choose that.
Right.
Why would, I know what happens at the end of life. I think, from my perspective, my hypothesis is, when you die, you meet yourself, you see yourself, and whatever you projected. If you want to believe in Jesus, you want to believe in a six-headed dog, you want to believe in whatever you want to believe in, you'll come confronting with that. And when I was having that moment of rising up, it was like someone was reading to me everything that ever happened in my life, and it felt like I was living that moment instantaneous as the words were being read. Like, it was like I was just walking in those shoes again, from a kid to an adult. Everything I've ever seen, everything I've ever done in my life. And it was like, wow, like, it's crazy. Are you done? I'm not done. So as I woke up, I remember my girl had her hand on
I'm
my
still
chest.
here.
And my girl was just like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, it felt like you weren't breathing. And I was like, I felt like I was somewhere else. I have like a whole new meaning to life. Every day I promise to pray. I pray every single day, meditate, do everything I can. At every moment, to be the better me, I try to be. Because think about it, it's not about telling people to be better, it's showing them better.
Right.
And even though I keep my ego around sometimes, because in that ego death moment, you realize you're killing the personality self, the self that wouldn't do for your neighbor, the person next to you.
Yep.
But also, your ego can come in very good handy for yourself in a place where lower frequency and lower vibrations reign supreme. And we all see that day in, day out, whatever we're watching, whether it's social media, the news, whatever.
Right.
And that's my take on it, at least.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
This is going way out of left field, because when you realize what your purpose is, I think that's a huge part of ego death too. When you start to realize why you are here, and you know why you're here. Like, I know for myself, I am literally here to pass everything I know off to the world and try my best to leave the world a better place all around. And so my question is more future. What could we do as humanity, not ARvibes, us as humanity, to stop the building of the ego at like with children? Because you see it. You don't see the ego in children at all. It's not there, and we create it.
I would say you
just
start with
about
children books. You start with the children books. You start with the children's cartoons. Nowadays, every little kid has a phone in their hand before they can walk. So you start with little kid apps, make spiritual apps for kids,
But
and you teach them young, and you don't stop, and it will spread. It will
But
spread.
you got to get it on a more wide scale, like, because
That's
believe
it.
it or not, there's already stuff like that out there. There is. I saw a book about
And
chakras for kids. It was beautiful. A God for kids, spirituality. But the problem is, it's got to be something that gets incorporated in schools
you
in a
gotta
sense.
understand, everyone gotta have their choice. So
Yeah.
those things will exist.
right.
And those things will exist because of yin and yang.
Yep.
It has
Yep.
to be
Well,
Well,
yin
the
and
more
yang.
you talk about it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the thing is, sometimes the scales will tip, the balance will tip, but always, whenever the balance is tipped, something either catastrophic or something happens to
100%.
either fix it,
The
because it's like time is kind of like a river. A river that runs just runs. And this river, if imagine you threw a rock in the water to try and to stop the time from moving or whatever, the water will just find another way. It'll
Yep.
find another path. It will correct itself. So in a way, it's kind of like if you try to stop things like this, it's every kid has their own choice and all that when they get to a certain point. But like
Right.
we say, whatever reality we come from or whatever background kind of forms what we are in the end.
Well,
And
in the beginning, unless we decide to go through a
exactly,
spiritual awakening. Yeah.
like remember, not even remember. There's a point in everyone's life where
Right.
sometimes they lose, like you said, in as being a child, you're completely pure, and
Right.
at some point you get that knowledge of knowing
Right.
certain things that even though you know it's either not right, immoral, whatever, you do it not in the case of you just wanting to do it, but the sensation of just doing, of being a human,
Right.
mistakes and all and whatever. But after a certain point, when you come into being a logical thinking adult, as they call it, but to me I call it when you come in, I feel like I came into this point in life where I don't know if everyone comes into it. I would hope that everyone comes into it at a certain age where I kind of became free from anyone telling me what is really going on. I let everyone tell me from the beginning. I let them teach me math. I let them teach me everything there is to know about the known universe that I could take in. And then after I looked from their perspective, I looked from my own perspective. I gathered all my thoughts, all everything that I've ever heard, everything that I've ever seen, and came up with a hypothesis. And this hypothesis, when I came up with it, it's kind of like an awakening moment of finding out a buzzer has been going on, an alarm's been going on, and you've just never noticed, but then all of a sudden you're just smashing it with a hammer, just and all of a sudden, boom, just like that, you're either awake or you're going into the job that you've always wanted, or you're following your childhood dreams, or however way you manifest after all of it. But some people don't get that because there's no time as what they say or what they call it.
Right. Akeem,
Everyone's always busy.
Yeah.
I want to backtrack a little bit, and I want to thank you for everything you just said, because when I was asking the question of what could we do to avoid it, right after I said that and started getting the collective answer, message came to me, and it was it's my own fault. And what I got was, you were just meditating on this yesterday, and I gave you the answer, and I was like, oh yeah. And this is what I got yesterday. He said we need ego, because what we need to have love and understand what God is without knowing, without being taught, just natural connection. And then you need the ego, and you need to. It's almost like God told me He wants you to feel what it's like not to have Him. Go through the process of ego, and then it's up to you to decide to get out of it and wake up. And there's enough knowledge around the world. There's enough wisdom. There's enough groups and people that can help you understand it, and you can break the cycles and get out of. You can have that ego death. But when I was asking how do we avoid it, it was just funny. He's like, we just did this yesterday when you were meditating. There's no avoiding it. It's a needed process. I was like, oh my God, yes. Like it makes sense. Like you have to build an ego, and it's a natural process to build the ego and then understand what you have and go back to that being that child in the moment, living like a child, happy, comfortable, aware of what's happening now. Not like, again, I bring up the kids all the time. My son, all his friends, they do not care that they're not going to school. They don't care that the world's messed up. They literally don't care. They're just like, what are we doing today? Like, what can we? Oh, we can't go to the store today. All right, no big deal. What can we do? They don't care. They're just living in the moment. They're just aware of what's happening around them. And then you get to that age of where you're aware of what's happening everywhere. You're aware of where you fit in school, like Akeem, like you said earlier. Like, okay, which group now should I fit into? If you've been to jail, you go to jail, you got to pick either you're going to stand by yourself and maybe have issues, or you're going to pick what group should I join now? Who should I hang out with to feel safe? And the biggest thing that I've learned from ego is mostly driven by fear. Love and fear are the two most powerful energies and feelings and emotions in the world. And Fear is what drives ego being built. Whether it's that simple thing of, okay, I'm good at sports, I should hang out with the jocks, I shouldn't hang out with the nerds because I'm an athlete and I'm cool. And it's the fear of what happens if I hang out with the nerds, which, mind you, anyone listening, I hung out with everybody in high school. I liked everyone. But thinking of that, now if I go hang out with the science kids in the chess club, are the football kids not going to be my friends anymore? Is the basketball team not going to be my friends anymore? And that's fear. That's where the fear comes in of keeping you in that ego. And you got to go back to the love and not worry about people's judgment and the perceptions they put on you.
Yeah, that's what the ego is. The ego is exactly that. The ego is judgment. The ego is separation. The ego is all of that. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Separating yourself from the collective, 100%. Separating yourself from the collective, and it's sad when you think about a huge level. Like when I'm praying, I get message. And Akeem, I love how you said you pray every day too. It's off topic. We're talking about ego, but another thing I've noticed in the awakening, and when you're starting to dissolve ego, if you're not praying every day and communicating, it goes away so fast. Like it doesn't go away. It's almost like it's, oh, you think you know now? Okay, go ahead. I'll leave you hanging. It's like I just gave you all of this all the time. Yeah, and it never stops. Like I'm only 30. I'm about to be 31. And this process is new to me for the last few years, but I can feel in my heart already, it will never stop. I will never get to a point where God's not going to feed me something new. Unless I choose, I don't want to keep talking to you. I don't want to pray. I don't want to meditate. But it's not going to happen because
I just turned 39. Yeah, man, I just turned 39. I started this in March and I haven't stopped. I've been doing this every day, nonstop, for like the moment I get out of work until the moment I go to bed. And then on the weekends.
Yep. We're all, we are, like, and the other thing I hate is everyone says, we are God. We're all God. And everyone has their own opinions. I respect it. But I look at it as we are all one thing. We're here together. We're here to make Earth more beautiful than it already is. But we have the ego is literally what destroys this place because it's, well, I don't want it this way. I want it that way. Well, he wants it that way, but I want it this way. Well, I don't like those colored people over there. Well, what the hell do you mean? So they don't get to enjoy this world that you get to enjoy because you don't like them? And it's just the craziest concepts that run our world at a high level, and it's 100% ego. So it's like, let me flip my question earlier on how do we stop the process, because you can't. How do we get more people to understand their egos controlling them, and how do we get them to get to the point of wanting to experience ego death? I know one of the biggest things is trauma. They say, like, as an adult, you get fired from the best job you ever had, can't find a job, and your wife divorces you, and you're like, oh my. And that's one of the best, like, trauma is one of the biggest things they say to get you to that, or pain to get to that ego death. But what are some other ways we can help, like, humanity as a whole? Like I told you guys, my mission before I died, I don't know when that time comes, is I want to see world peace everywhere. I want everyone to love everyone. I want everyone to understand that we all need to love each other. That's the only way this place will be good for everyone. How do we accomplish that?
Best two places to start is like kind of like John said with kids, but another place is somewhere that I can get us into probably. Treatment centers.
Yeah.
100%. They treat people in treatment and people that are going through that lifestyle. They understand us 100%. I know that for a fact because I'm one of them. You know what I mean? I've been there. I've done that. And the reason that I did it is because I always felt that there was something more to myself. And I always wanted to get out of myself. That's why I got high. That's why I kept getting high, because I didn't want to be me. I didn't want to be in society. I was bored. I didn't want to be with it. So I got out of myself. I got high. And I could speak, I guarantee it, I could speak for many other addicts and many others that have that same exact thought process. The same exact.
It makes sense. It's
because I got attached
into
to
the trauma.
Yeah,
and that leads into the trauma and the pains of, like, they say, like, people who talk about ego death a lot, and like I've listened to, like, psychologists talk about, they say that's the biggest cause is the suffering and pain. And like you said, people who go through addiction, that's the highest form of suffering and pain. Like, you're doing it because you're in the worst suffering and pain spot that you could be in. And that's where a lot of those people must be on that brink of, what do I do? But they might not understand that it's ego. They might not even know what's happening to them. And they might not know that they can get past that. And that might be a stuck point. But in reality, it's the whole world. It's like every single one of us has ego, and we have to learn how to dissolve ego. I still do. We all. I can't speak for you guys.
I wouldn't want to say dissolve it. I would say learn to live with it, recognize it, see it for what it
Be aware of
is,
it.
and respect it, because it's like your divine feminine and divine masculine energy, if you will. You got to live with it. You know, there's I don't know.
I feel different. It's all right. I feel like it's an ego death for a reason. You want to get rid of it, but it's there. Like Akeem said, it's hidden there. It can come back, but you have to allow it to come back, in my opinion. Once you get that ego death, it's up to you to let it come back.
Because you don't know who you don't know who
I feel you're right in my heart, honestly.
You don't know who
you have to live with your ego.
You don't know who you can be without knowing who you don't want to be, right?
I think that's the whole point, though. The wanting to be is the ego. Like when you say who you can be, that is, you shouldn't want to be anything. You should just want to be. Just be and be in the moment and aware. If you want to be something else, that's ego. So another thing with ego is ego likes the past, future. Ego loves the past and the future. Ego loves this is what I used to do. I'm gonna do this. That's what ego loves the most. And the one thing to stop it is just be. And that's why I bring it back to kids. Kids don't think of the past unless you make them. Kids don't think of the future unless like, hey, what are you going to be when you grow up? We start building that ego of like, what do you want to be when you're an adult? A soldier. Okay. And then they start getting older, and then like their friend comes to school crying, my dad just got killed in a war. Now they're sitting there like, do I really want to be a soldier? I said I want to be a soldier. I do want to be a soldier, but now I'm afraid. I don't know what I want to be. It's like we just keep building it right from the beginning, and it really starts with society and parents. And it's hard not to. Like, I think about it with my son all the time. Like the example I used earlier, there's a kid on TikTok he watches, Tico, and the kid's always like screaming, and it's to the point where I can't watch the videos. He's like, ah, and I'm like, kid, calm down. But he'll start talking in his voice at times and doing that, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You're not that kid. Just be yourself. But then this is before I really started understanding this more. And it was an example I was reading the other day of a lady saying like, that's literally a way to build ego. Because now I'm telling him, don't be like that kid, be yourself. When he's living in the moment, having a good time, like, being that kid, I'm saying, no, you're not him, be you. Now he has to think, who am I? What am I? Okay, I gotta be me. I shouldn't do that because that's not me. And we don't do it intentionally. We feel like it comes from a good place, at least myself. Like when I originally was saying, stop trying to be like that kid, be yourself. It's like, I don't even know how to feel about that. Like, I feel like it's the right thing to say, be yourself, but then it's also telling you to make your ego. So it's a good and a bad. It's the duality again. Like, and I don't, it's a complicated thing. It's a very complicated process in life to know the right way to do it. You know, Sadhguru says in America mainly, he's like, when I go travel America, I know all you guys know Sadhguru. He goes, when I travel in America and I do seminars and talks, he goes, the one thing I hear all the time from people in America is, I was raised to do this. I was raised this way. I was raised that way. And he goes, the biggest pride I have, or the biggest thing for me and my kids is I don't raise my kids. I cultivate. They can do what they want. And if they're going to do something that's going to hurt them or kill them, I'm going to let them know you could die from this. Like, is that really what you want to do? But he's like, I don't raise. He's like, cattle and sheep. You raise cattle and sheep. You don't raise a human being. And when I heard him say that, it really sunk with me. And it was probably like 2 years ago I heard that. And I was like, wow. And I was like, that makes so much sense. And it's almost all, he says it's mainly an American thing. I haven't traveled the world enough, so I don't know how that resonates and how true that is. But he says it's the way we build ourselves here in this type of civilization is you have to identify with something, or you're not a good person, or there's something wrong with you. And it's like, oh, okay. And it's weird. You know? Like, do you guys ever go around and say you were raised to do this? You're raised this way. I believe in this because I was raised this way.
No.
Did you ever? Did you have to get past that? Did you ever do that?
Yeah, in a way, because honestly, I started believing in more of the sense of a Socrates. I am. As I think it, I am. I think I am, therefore I am.
Yep.
And honestly, that's just one of the thoughts that kind of gets you through, because in a world where you're not sure of anything else, you could be sure of yourself.
And intuition's a huge part in that too. Like, what kills me is like, there's so much evidence out there on how every human is very intuitive. Every single human. The CIA did a whole program on ESP and remote viewing, and like literally they were bringing in people from grocery stores like, hey, let's see if you can do this. And they were like, holy shit, they do it better than the psychics. And it's like, you just tell someone how to access, and it's an understanding of it. You know what I mean? Like that's another thing for ego death, in my opinion, is understanding your intuition. Your guides are trying to talk to you through your intuition and tell you how to get through the ego death, how to get through dissolving ego. And it's up to us to listen. Just like you always know when you're walking into a bad situation. But a lot of us humans still choose to walk into that bad situation because we're like, no, it can't be that bad. Is that going to happen? And then boom, look what just happened. You're like, oh my. Or like, hey man, you should not be with this female you're with now. I know it's been 10 years, but it's not right. It's not right. It's not right. And the next thing you know, you're having a baby and you're getting cheated on at the same time. And now you're in a real tough spot. And it's like, oh, should I have just listened? Now I'm like, you get what I'm saying? Like, we always know what is right and wrong inside. And it's the free will of how you want to act on it, literally. And the ego is the part that tells you to do the wrong things all the time. But it feels good. The ego makes you feel good. It makes you feel like, again, the kid in school who's the coolest kid in school, probably filled with ego. And he knows it. But he knows he wants to keep being the cool kid, because being the cool kid also feels good until you're no longer the cool kid when you're 35 years old and you have no friends and you're doing stuff by yourself. Or my man, Justin Bieber. I love Justin Bieber. And when he makes that song, Lonely, just the lyrics alone are so beautiful. And he's like, no one knows me. Everyone thinks they know who I am. No one knows anything about me. And he goes, and then everyone saw me sick and it felt like no one gave a shit. Just some stupid kid. He's just some stupid kid partying, doing the wrong things instead of helping him. You know, hey, here's a little kid. Let's bring his ego, bring him into ego and into fame and destroy his fucking life and tell him it's his fault because he's stupid and he should have knew better. Like, it's crazy. And that's when you get lonely. When your ego brings you to loneliness is what it does. Ego will bring you to if you keep ego for a long time, it's going to bring you to a lonely, lonely, lonely spot. At least in my opinion, you know, because sooner or later people don't want to be around the ego. They sense the ego, and as more people wake up, they don't want to be around stuff like that.
I think that's why I've always been a background person myself. You know, you stick to yourself because you don't like other people's egos. You know,
it's good to be aware younger of that too. Like if you think back on high school too, everyone knew kids that were like that. That just would. And the question is, does that kid really know why they didn't want to fit in, or is it just intuitive? Were they more intuitive at that age of, hey, you don't need to be in that crowd. You don't need to be fake to be in that crowd, because that's lonely itself. Spiritual awakening is very lonely, but ego can get very lonely. And the way I see it is like spiritual awakening is lonely until you meet other awakened people. Because it's in the beginning, if you're going through it most of the time, it's like you're probably going through it and nobody else around you's gone through it, because you would have known what it was already. You know what I mean? At least my perspective, when I started going through it, I went through the crazy stage like everybody else. What's wrong with me? And that's what everyone around me said. Oh, something's wrong with this kid. He just quit his job making 150 grand. What the hell's wrong with him? And I'm like, my intuition told me it's not the right thing, and I listened. And it's just mind-boggling. The lady I was telling you about earlier, who has been talking to angels her whole life since she was a little girl. She was a marine biologist making bank. The head marine biologist at her labs. And same thing. She's like, my angels came and told me, you work for us now. It's time to work for us. And she's like, I need money to pay my bills. What do you mean I work for you? And it's like, spread love. Just spread love and find ways. And she's like, honestly, I just started trying to figure out what to do. And my angels guided me to write a book, a simple course. And she's like, getting them like, go teach this course now. And she's like, oh, all right. And she just goes to teach it. And then it became a career. She went from being a marine biologist to building a coaching community and teaching community, because that's essentially how we're all going to get to this collective consciousness, is people spreading what they know and helping other people understand it. Even the dumb it down.
Give it away to keep it.
That's what I've been told to do. I've been guided since I've been woken up to write my book about.
You have to
keep a daily diary of everything that's been going on, every little experience I have, whether it's imaginary or whatever I have. You know, just write it down. Keep a log of everything.
Yeah.
It may not make any sense at all, but when it's ready, it will come to you. and you're gonna write your book, and your book's
Yep.
gonna wake up other people, because it's gonna be sharing your experiences of what you went through during this rough time of 2020.
Yep.
I was like, oh shit.
But
All
then
right.
it's the doing it. And
So
like, did you ever sit there and like you're in the
yeah.
awakening process? I'm sure there's a lot of people that get that message and they're like, maybe not. I don't write books. It's like, dude, you just got to take it to your new life. Like, write the fucking book.
that's what I did. I did have that feeling. I did have that saying where I'm like, you know what? I don't write books. I've never written a book in my life. I never, I mean, yeah, I did good creative writing in school, but that's because I was forced to.
Right.
I was, yeah.
Yep.
So for me, it was just like, all right, well, and every day it was write your book, write your book, write your book, write your book. Even right now, they're telling me write the
Yeah.
book.
Dude, I've been doing that with music. Akeem and Mike both know, and you were here the other day, John. I was working on music. It's nothing I've done in my life, but it's something they told me I need to do. You need to make music and spread messages in music. And I was like, oh, it's a really good idea. And I was like, all right.
So I'm over here going, okay. So then I'll write some stuff down. I got about 20 something pages, 25 pages written down, and then I'm like, okay, and I'm like, but I want to learn more. I don't feel like I have enough knowledge to write about any of this. And they're like, it will come to you. I'm like,
it will flow right in.
But I don't know what to ask if I don't know it. I don't know what to write if I don't know what to ask, if I don't know what to think, if I don't know what to write. I'm like, and they're like, you just let it be. Just let it be. Let it flow. And I'm like, okay. So then I sat back for like 3-4 days, didn't do anything. They're like, we told you to write the book, write the book, write the book. So then I go back, I write a paragraph or two, and then the next day something else would come to me, and then I'd write that down. The next day something else would come to me, and then I'd write that down. And I realized one day that what I was doing was just writing down my experiences like a daily log. And they're like, yes, now you got it. It's not going to make sense. It's going to come fragmented, but you're going to get it. It's like, wow.
John, what's beautiful about that, John, is you literally, I don't even know if you realize what you just did, but you just described dissolving of the ego, not ego death, but how initially I don't write books. What do you mean? You're hearing the message, but I don't write books. That was the ego saying you don't write books, because your ego's like, that's not you, John. What are you talking about? When I first started meditating, I was getting that. What are you doing? You don't meditate. And I'm like, all right, this is boring. And I got up and walked away. And I'm like, that is a beautiful example of fighting the ego, John. You did it. Like, fine, I'll write here. And now it's becoming more fluid. Like, it's just natural. It's part of what you're supposed to be doing. And another thing I just thought of was like, oh, never mind. Someone else go. I just lost it.
but yeah, no, it's you're absolutely right. Now I'm programmed to almost like take it and actually start writing notes. This is what I thought today. This is what came into my mind, and it's just like a daily record of my thoughts. Like, this is what I thought about. This is what I answered myself. This is who I encountered today. This is how I felt. It was, and then this is what I thought about. This is what I meditated about. Or this is what I watched, and this is what I thought about what I watched. It was just.
Yep. The big thing to me too is writing is a conscious fact. Like, what I'm nervous about is seeing these kids doing everything on computers now. My son complains when it's time to do writing in school, they're typing. He's 9 years old. They're not writing essays, they're typing. And I'm like, damn. And he's like, I like to write. I love his new teacher. She says, that's okay. You can write and send me a picture. And I said, thank you. Because like they're making kids less conscious right from the jump now. It's like, just type. Typing, think about it. You can all go like this and type without even looking. You can say you can write without looking, but can you really write on lined paper and write a full paragraph without looking? Probably not. You're going to write scribbles everywhere. You're not going to know what you're writing. You need to consciously be aware of what you're writing, in a sense, if you want it to make sense and be legible. With typing, you don't need that. You can just muscle memory. I know where the keys are. They do the letters for me. they space it out for me. Like,
I have too many years of punishment of writing on the same line over and over and over again, of being a bad in school, so I can do that with my eyes closed. All right.
You just brought me to a flashback I didn't want to go to. Holy shit! I remember being
I will not.
Kid, that was a punishment.
I will not.
100 times.
I will not. I will not. Oh man.
Wow, I forgot about that. Akeem, you too? Tell me you went through that. They don't do it to kids no more. Yo, my grandma who raised me, my mama, she would do that. I forgot about that. Oh man, she would literally be like, "You didn't do good in your spelling test? write each word 100 times. I'm like, what? Because test is already done. I already failed the spelling test. Why do I got to write it 100 times now? It's already over. You need to learn how to spell it. I'm like, all right. Shit, I guess I got to learn how to spell. And I remember what I was going to say earlier. It was that one of the biggest things I hate about ego is essentially what we just said. When you start waking up and understanding reality that we're in, the real world, and you don't feel like it's a natural tendency to want to share it and help other people understand it, that is, I think, the worst form of ego. And I think that's most celebrities and the most elite people in this world. They know exactly what they're doing. They know how to manifest. They know how to astral project and travel, and they go different places. But they don't want other people to know that. That's the biggest form of ego, in my opinion. They want to keep that for them, like almost as if not every human can't manifest what they want, when in reality, we all know we can. If we taught the whole world, would that take away from the people who were doing it first? No, it wouldn't. But that's, you see that a lot with the people who are the athletes, the celebrities. It's, why not tell someone how you think, how you do it? You see a lot of them that will, but most won't. It's like a secret to them. Dude,
that might have been you, Akeem. Okay. Wow.
The Law of Attraction, the book, The Secret. And they call it The Secret. That when I read The Secret, I was mad about it at first. I'm like, why do they call this The Secret? This is stupid. Why is it a secret? You know? Everyone should know these things.
I saw a big green light, like a pulse light, in my third eye vision.
It's Akeem's.
And then I realized that it was actually Akeem's window there. So I wasn't sure. Like I closed my eyes and I saw it still. Like it was, oh no, it was projecting.
For sure.
Anywho.
So what have we not covered? Ego is a pretty straightforward topic. And we did talk about, what else could we go into about it? Like I said earlier, I was going to talk about the stages, and I didn't want people in the audience to be confused. When I say stages, I don't mean like stages of ego death. I literally meant what I said early in the podcast of your no ego gets built, ego dies. Like that's the stages. And if you don't get to that, you're going to get to a midlife crisis and your ego's going to die anyway. You're going to get to like 50 and you're like, I hate everything. I hate the world. I hate my wife. I hate my job. I hate my car. And then you just start to go to counseling maybe, and they start telling you, learn how to love yourself. And boom, now you're like 55 and you were forced to have an ego death. That's crazy to me. Like it's it's a thing. Menopause is different because it's more body, but it's the same like emotional feeling from what I've learned in the past. Into the midlife crisis, it's like, why do we need to go to that stage? When you know that people go to that stage, when you've seen your parents go to that stage, your grandparents go to that stage, why would you want to get to that stage? You gotta kind of like see it coming. You know what I mean? Like know that if you don't decide to find out who you really are and what you're connected with here and what this is, it's gonna happen anyway. And it's gonna be real painful when it happens because you're gonna be older and you're not gonna know what to do. You know? Like what's all right, let's everyone, I want you guys all to give your thoughts on an age, because I know it has nothing to do with age, but in a sense, I think, see, that's ego, I think. But anyways, I feel like we can like segment like where the ages are. Like, what is your opinions? Like for me, I feel like no ego is probably up until 10, 11, I would say. 8, 9, 10,
I think that's when it's being built.
Well, it's being built the whole time. But I mean, like, when do you think the kid realizes they're working off ego? Like you see little kids, they live in the moment. They're not living through ego. But then they get to the point where the ego's built right from the beginning because the parents are telling them what they are. They're telling them what they can and can't do. But the kid still lives in the moment for a long time until they get to that age where they decide what they are.
Like you said, I think there's people that don't ever wake up, you know?
I'm talking the beginning before.
I think some kid, honestly, I feel like it all depends on the parents. I don't know if you've heard of like generational curses and things like that. Yeah. But imagine being around a parent who's very egotistical, and a child's mind is like a sponge. Yep. So they're quickly picking all these things up quickly. Before you know it, there'll be a little kid running around, dropping F-bombs, doing this, doing that. Yep. The bad kid want to fight this, and doing all these things. Imagine them watching like an alcoholic father or something like that drink their life away. As soon as the kid can get access to anything, they're trying to drink, they're trying to do this, they're trying to do that. But they don't understand that that's not technically their true self. That's a masking or a coping mechanism for everything else. So it's like,
do you think a kid can be aware of that at a young age without like essentially
well,
like I think of us, like we all had an age where we started to wake up because we were in a sense forced to. For me, it was intuitive. It was quitting my job, and it was like you need to stop. Like look at your life right now. You're not happy in your relationship. You're not happy going to work, even though you're making more money you've ever made in your life. And like for me, it was like a period where I was like, all right, I have to do this. Like, do you think a kid, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, do you think a kid can realize they're living it through ego? Or do you think it has to happen at a certain age where you're like, wow, this isn't me. This isn't what I want to be. You know?
well, honestly, I think sometimes, yeah, only because in a way, if you could think back to any moments you were a kid and you did anything either bad or anything or what you considered as the time as bad, and you try to hide it or get away with it only because not that you didn't know what the right thing was, but
Gotcha.
ego.
Yep. You didn't want to get in trouble.
Exactly. And depending on who your parents are, the more afraid you are to either come clean, do whatever. But at the same time, that builds up that ego to be a person where it's like either they're going to do the wrong thing or they're going to do the right thing. But it all depends on the response they get from doing whatever they're doing.
That's a great point, Akeem. I like that.
Exactly. You know?
That brings me back to my childhood, bro. Being honest, I was never a bad kid. I'm just being honest. But I was impulsive and I was always intuitive, like I am today. And I would kind of just do things that I knew were wrong. Exactly saying, like when I was a kid, I would steal from the candy store, just candy, little like 25-cent candies, pack my pockets. My friends were like, oh my God, can you get me some? And I'd be like, yeah. Like to this day, I'm telling you this genuinely from my heart. If someone walked by me and dropped $5,000, I'd be like, hey, and I'd give them their money. I could not see myself stealing something that's worth a penny. I just couldn't do it. And I don't know if it's the connection. Actually, I do know it is. It's the connection I made with God and understood what I've always known from as a kid, but didn't know what it was. When I found out what it was, I realized I'll never do, like, I don't know how to explain it. I genuinely feel in my heart that I will never do bad to anybody ever again. Like, I don't want to. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to steal from anybody. I don't want to make anyone feel wrong. But as a kid, like you said, I consciously knew what I was doing. When I think back, I get exactly what you're saying. I knew when I was talking shit, bullying. I was like a bully. I was that silly bully. I had a kid that I'm being open and honest to my community. I was in like fifth grade, maybe. A kid used to give me hash browns in the morning, his breakfast. But it got to the point where I wanted to keep getting his hash browns. Like, yo, let me get the hash brown. Let me get the hash brown. And one day he said, fuck you. And I was like, what? And I slapped him in the back of the head, joking around, like not hard. And he went crying. And I followed him like, dude, I'm just joking. I got suspended for it. He was that upset. And I was like, dude, I was just messing around with you. And that right there, I was a young kid, and that really changed my life too, that one incident. Because I wasn't trying to be an asshole. I wasn't trying to be the bully. I was trying to be funny. I was trying to be the cool kid in the sense. Like, he was my friend, but I was trying to be cool. The ego, you know what I mean? Like, trying to fit my crowd at the young age of like, oh, I'm just messing with you, man. But it hurt my heart when I seen how emotional he got over it. Like, it literally hurt my heart as a kid. And I was like, oh my God, like, I didn't mean to do that to you, man. And we became really good friends.
I was the kid with the tater tots, man.
We all got to experience it, though. And that goes back to what we said earlier, where it's like, when I first said, how do we kids avoid building the ego to have the ego death? And we said, right. And I said, God told me in my meditation, it has to happen. Like, I totally get it. You have to go through the processes no matter what. You have to understand what you did was wrong and the consequence, how you're not going to feel the connection, how you're going to feel bad karma, and understand it. Because that's going to keep you away from doing the extreme bad. If you do enough little bad that teaches you a lesson, you're probably going to have a lot of fear to go out there and murder somebody. And like, I stole something and got horrible karma. I don't want to kill anybody. Like, it'll get you thinking. Like, you know. What else can we say for ego death? Anything about ego? What else you guys got? I didn't want to get into psychedelics too much because my community is not about that, but I am a huge believer in psychedelics. If you do them right, it's a beautiful thing. It's like the analogy I got earlier from the Joe Rogan podcast was your mind, a mountain covered in snow, embedded with paths of what you are. That psychedelic experience is a fresh slate. And
I
I
haven't seen
genuinely
that
believe
stuff
that from
since
my
high school.
experiences with it, 100%.
Yeah.
I haven't had a
Yeah.
lot of experiences, but the experience I had, that hit me so hard. Like, yes, that helps you with your awakening 100% if you do it right. And that's, I hate saying that to the world because I know some people have really bad experiences, and that's why I don't want to put it out there like everyone should do it. No,
It's
but if
their
you're at a
honestly,
good point in your awakening, you should.
it's people's own minds. A lot of people forget to walk on the inside. And honestly, that's all it takes sometimes. It takes going on the inside and realizing who you are. And
Right.
honestly, when people feed their mind, that's the first thing they see. In the forethought, the frontal thought, all the things that scare them, all the things that's imprinted so deeply on their mind that when they go searching in their brain, that's what they find.
Right.
And some people have the most unpleasant things in there, but that's what refers to people fighting their demons and all this, because
Right.
things that torment them day in and day out, but they don't ever think to ever be like, you know what, I'm gonna confront this, I'm gonna meditate on this, I'm gonna beat this, I'm gonna pray for help on this, I'm gonna find help on this. But a lot of people don't go seeking that because today's society, there is no place you could call for that. There's no
Right.
medical center. There's no, you think you can call all these things and take all these medicines and whatever to help you feel better. But at the end of the day, all these medicines have side effects.
Yep.
And all these side effects are 10 times worse than what the medicine actually do for you.
And they're targeted. They're there to do something specific. And it's
Exactly.
not getting rid of the underlying issue. I get exact. I preach on this all the time, and and I'm sure you've had these talks with a lot of people out in public. It's one of the hardest talks to have, in my opinion, because people who don't get that, it's like you're offending them, and it's like, no, I understand you, and it's you need to go inside. That is the only way. And I'll say it to the day I die. The chakras are the key to life. If you can understand your chakras, and go in the Bible, I'm not even trying to make this religious. Go in the Bible. They don't talk about 12 archangels. They talk about 7. There's 7 chakras. 7's a huge number in the universe, as well as 3 and all the other ones we talk about. 7's a big number too. The 7 trumpets in Revelations. The 7 seals. You get what I'm saying? It's 7 is your chakras. You need to find your chakras throughout life. And again, even if you don't know what your chakras are, you're either balanced or not balanced. Like I talked about, start with the root. Either you're feeling safe and secure, you're not worried about financial issues, you feel abundance, you feel fine, you feel like you belong, rooted, grounded, or you feel nervous all the time. You hear a car drive by your street, and you're like, someone's coming for me. Like, whether you understand about chakras or not, that's what your chakras either open or closed. You either like sex or you don't like sex, or you have a sexual problem and you do nasty things. Pedophiles. It's crazy if you think about it on a high level, but a pedophile is somebody with a very unbalanced sacral chakra. That's all that really is. As hard as that is for people to concept, like, I feel that in my heart. It's not even the brain, it's the sacral chakra. And their sacral chakra is so fucked up that they think that's okay. Like
Right,
that's what they're into. That's what they feel.
It's the trauma for those people, because you got to think about it. People, they become predators in a way, in the sense of they don't understand, like, or they felt that type of pain or whatever they want to label it as, but at the end of the day, it's a sickness. I think it's a sickness for these people, because anyone who can logically think that that's even a thought process, there's something wrong.
Right.
There's, there has to be something wrong.
100%.
Yeah. I would say they would have to be a trauma of something, either in this generation or a previous generational lifetime.
Past life.
There was some sort of trauma that occurred, and they haven't healed that trauma.
Yeah.
They haven't dealt with it. So that's why they act out the way they act out. I'm going to go back a little bit and do a little rewinding, because I haven't talked to him a little bit, but you guys are talking about psychedelics. No, I haven't done that stuff since 1999, but wow.
Wow.
As I was thinking about that, I was being told, because I do it all natural. I meditate and everything.
Same thing. Yes.
All my visions, all my connections, they're all natural.
Yeah.
Like I don't use I don't
My,
use
what's
that
funny
stuff.
about that, John?
Anyways.
Mike and I talked about it after we had an experience together, Mike and I, and it was a beautiful experience. Like it. To be honest, I wish he was still on. I see he's off. That's okay. It was a life changing, and that's right around the time I met Akeem too, because it was a life changing experience.
Right.
That one time, I did it with Mike, and to the point where we both looked at each other, and started crying. Like, are you feeling what I'm feeling right now? He's like, yeah. He's like, what's happening? And I'm like, whoa. Like, I'm not gonna get deep into it, but we were with God in the moment, and it was unbelievable. And it was boom, boom, boom. We both knew. We're like, what's happening?
So while you guys were talking about that, I was sitting here going, well, I haven't used that stuff since '99, but I remember what I saw, and that was freaking bonkers. But but they were telling me that they were saying in small doses, in very small moderate doses, small moderate doses daily, in like a tea. So it almost like a tea, and
some of the most successful people do that every day. Business owners, CEOs,
not to a point where you're gonna trip, but to a point where you're more consciously aware. You're more consciously aware. You're more open, more susceptible to receive information. So it's not necessary, but
it's not.
After a while, you won't even need it.
Yes, it's not necessary, but yes, it does work. Yeah.
That's what I got. That's what I got. And that's what I was referencing earlier. It's not for everyone, but I'm very, very confident in what I've been told and intuitive. No, to the point of 10 years from now, it's going to be what marijuana was. Like, it's going to be like like normal, because they're going to see, this isn't bad at all. But when I figured that out through meditation after, I was getting to the same exact place that happened. And I was like, you can do this through meditation. And Mike right away, I noticed that too. And I'm like, but we never got that deep through meditation before that experience. And I think that's because we never really experienced it and maybe didn't know what was there, like how to get that high up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they look at it as a quick fix. That's why it was such a big thing in the world. And then it was like illegal, hardcore, like only the CIA could test it out. And like, because they knew what it was doing. It was helping people wake up out of the fake reality. Because it's not the solution, like you guys said, but it's, if you do it right, and like Akeem said, it's the reality you're already living. I love that you said that, because
I don't want to put that message out there. So I don't condone that. I don't know. I would say do it natural. Honestly, I don't want to put that message out there. I mean, yes, and I apologize. I understand my truth's not your truth. I get that. I apologize.
No, hey, I it's something I do regularly. I've done. It's something I've done, and I wanted to circle back to what Akeem said. It's what was big for me is I was already on a very spiritual awakened path, and that spiritually awakened path led me to it, to the point of research it. And I started researching it, and when I realized all it does for your pineal gland, which is your third eye chakra, I was like, this is actually doesn't seem bad. There was a little bit of fear there at first, but when I was ready for it, there was no fear. I was like ready. I'm like, I need to experience this. And when I went into it with Mike, our whole point was to see what we connect with, and not in a good way. And it was the most beautiful experience. But now flip that switch. If you're hanging out with your boys at a party and everyone's like, I gotta have some, like, you might have a totally different experience because you're not going in there for that purpose. So I get that, Akeem, 100%. And I would never suggest it to people too, but that's hard. Like John said, you don't want to condone it and say do it, but in a sense, if you're ready for it, if you can handle it, you're in the right spot.
Honestly, it kind of pushes people. It's one of those things where people could go through it naturally, slowly, and get it. But some people, if they do whatever and they want to go through psychedelics, it's not recommended, I won't say, unless they want to do it in micro doses or whatever. But if they do it, it's one of those things where your mind, you will see everything that's there. And you'll have bad trips and all of this, and you might not want to take that kind of leap of faith where you don't know what's going to happen. But also throughout spirituality, it's something that you don't know until you believing is seeing, as they say. And
that's my point. Experiencing it the one or two times was like, it's a hard thing to say. I feel like everyone should experience it, but at the right time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's something
Yeah.
everyone should do like regularly.
I
But I
think
think everyone needs to
Like-
experience and balance.
Like
I
Do
think
how
it
they
needs
have,
to come with a warning.
Yeah.
I would say it needs to come with a warning, and I would say that it follows your emotions. So your trip would follow your
Yes.
emotions.
You can
If
you can
you're
also go through
you can alter your trip, if you will. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
no, you could go through like there's places that do ayahuasca and stuff like
Yes.
that.
Ayahuasca. Yeah.
And it's like control trip where there's
Guided.
shamans and stuff, yep, to help you
guided.
do that. And for people who can afford it and things like that, they can
Yeah.
go through that or go with someone who's very knowledgeable and do
Yes.
what it is that they want to do. But
That's exactly what I meant about the 10 years from now. I'm very, very confident that's going to be a, hey, what's wrong with you? I'm hardcore depressed, manic depressed. I have anxiety all the time. I'm bipolar. Come here. You're going to sit on this couch. You're going to meditate. We're going to talk. We're going to walk you through, drink this tea, same thing. But that's how I think it's going to be the future. I should have rephrased that better. I don't think it's going to be like the, hey, I'm going to the dispensary, I need mushrooms. I don't think it's going to be a long time before that. I think it's going to
be
be,
honest with
hey,
you,
a doctor's going to tell you, let's do mushrooms. I'm going to walk you through a process. Like the shamans do.
I think technology of the future in terms of medical care is going to be frequency of sound and light, and that's what we're going to get. It's
it's
I don't know.
already
I don't know.
understanding.
Like if you have, I think they're out there. I do. I think they're out there. So imagine. No, I can't talk about that.
Once
here
we
on
all
live.
connect,
I'll
this
talk
is what
about
it
this
is.
later. I'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
talk about
it's
that
I
simple.
was gonna say,
I'll talk about that later.
Yeah, once the connected consciousness is a real thing, once it is, but once it's understood, like everyone gets it. Like here's a simple thing. I feel like everyone, even a child, knows what to do at a red light and a green light when you're driving. You get what I'm saying? Like everyone just knows what to do at a red light and a green light. I feel like we gotta get to a point where everyone understands that we are a connected consciousness. And when we hate people, we're making this place a hellhole. When we hurt people, we're making this place a hellhole. And when we see someone suffering and we don't want to help them because we think we're too good for them, we're making this place a bad place. And I think we've got to get to a common ground, and it might take 10, 20, 30 years. I'm hoping it's ASAP. Like I feel it already. I can feel the shift already happening. It's going to take time. I don't know how much time. But once everyone can just understand that, you know what I mean? It's not go through it, understand it. Once you plant that seed and it's understood, you're going to think about it. You might go 5 years of misery and then think about it, and then stick in the misery for another 5 years, but you'll think about it again. Like, can I really get out of this? Like other people say, but it's not talked about enough. Like when I told you my awakening started with The Secret, the law of attraction. It actually, it happened. And then that was like one of the first things I learned as I was awakening, but I would have never knew that. Nobody ever told me about it. It was never coming to me unless I found it. And that's what's crazy to me. We live in a world where we learn things that we don't need to learn, and everyone knows them. But the things that everyone should know, they're hidden. They're hidden and kept secret. And that's one of my biggest goals to change in the world. I think everyone should understand the collective consciousness. Everyone should understand getting inward and doing inner work.
100%. I think, yeah, but
school's a great point. But that's where religious beliefs come in. You got schools that say, I don't believe in that meditation stuff. It's demonic. Now you have a war of, is it bad or is it good? And now you can't teach the kids that. And it becomes a religious thing. And it's like, when in reality, it's like, how powerful it is. I can understand TM meditation where you have certain mantras. Me personally, I'm not going to go to someone I don't know and get a specific mantra that I don't even know what I'm saying and keep saying it. I'm not going to do it. I feel weird when I listen to a guided meditation and they're like, say, ha, ba, ba, da, ba. So I'm like, what the fuck am I saying? Because I don't know what I'm saying. I want to know what I'm saying before I'm saying and summoning something. That's just spelling his words, man.
Sacred language in most cases, I mean.
But do you have to know what it is before you say it? Like, would you say something? That's my point. If I came to you and told you while you're meditating, you should be saying this over and over again. If you don't really know me, how do you know I'm telling you something good to say? If you don't know what you're saying.
Does it feel good to you?
Intuition can be deceiving.
Does it feel good to you?
Put it this way, a lot of the celebrities, all they do is TM meditation. That's it. Just TM meditation. All it is mantras. It's repeating mantras that a specific mantra they give you. It ain't one that comes to you intuitively. It's one that they tell you is the one for you. And then it does literally change your life. But I don't know. I always get weary about it.
It's all interpretation, and it's all belief. And so if you interpret it to be something, then it will be that thing. And if you believe it, then it is. It's just that simple.
Let me ask you this. If you didn't know what the words "I hate you" and "I hope you die" meant, if you didn't know what they meant, you come from another country. You come from another country, you don't speak English, and I'm going to help you awaken in America. And I'm telling you to tell me how you hate everybody, you want to kill everybody, and just keep saying it over and over and over again. You can't tell me that's coming from a good place no matter how many times you say it. If you don't know what it means, you're still saying it. You're saying something very negative and low vibrational, 100%. So that's my point. Like, I don't want to. I wouldn't get into a process unless I knew.
So, can you say the word fuck? Fuck is a diversified word.
I don't think it's a bad word.
It's a diversified word.
Right.
Where it's good.
I think there's different vibrations on every word. I think every word has frequencies and different ways. I get what you're saying. But.
So it's a diversified word. So it's the emotion that you put behind said word. So if you get somebody that is coming over here from the Philippines and he comes over to you and he says something in his language and you have no idea what he says, and you put a smile on your face and you say, yes, I want to kill you, and I'm happy, yeah, hi, yes, I want to kill you. Well, he's going to smile back because he thinks you're doing a greeting.
And I think that's wild from my view, because I feel bad for that guy in this sense.
So he doesn't know what that word means because that's the very first English word he heard. So, but you're saying it with a smile. You're saying it with a good intent. Or,
I'm talking more about.
I mean, I don't think that's a good intent. I don't think that's a good intent. But you know what I'm saying. It's.
Yeah, I know. I think we're just going off into left field. Do you know what TM meditation is specifically? You get a specific mantra. So my only point is I'm not going to sit in a meditative, higher connected space and keep repeating something over and over again, having no clue what I'm saying. Because if I'm saying something bad, Akeem, what's your view on that?
What I'm trying to say is what is the perception? Do you perceive that word to be negative, or do you perceive that word to be positive, or do you perceive that word to be neutral? There could be neutral words, there could be positive words, there could be negative words, and they're all interchangeable. It all depends upon the emotion that you set behind it when you speak it. Does that make sense?
I get what you're saying. I just personally feel differently about it.
Does that make sense? I don't know. I don't know.
I get what you're saying.
I feel as if like so with it comes the kind of sense of before as humans we can even talk to each other. It goes off of feeling. Like when you come in contact with a dog and you can tell if a dog is friendly or not. And some people who aren't around dogs and just are afraid of just the mere notion of a dog, it's different than someone who's been around dogs and know, if a dog's tail's wagging or not, or if the hair stands up and the dog attacks you. But there's where it comes into the sense of feeling, of gut feeling, or just feeling. So kind of where you're in a bad situation or not sometimes just by being in that situation, or say you're all right, you have a pair of sneakers that you want to sell and you put these sneakers up and all of a sudden someone from some random profile message you. They have no profile picture, no nothing.
I get you.
And they want to meet you at 1 o'clock in the morning in the darkest alley. And
you just know, nah.
You can just be like, oh yeah, whatever. This person obviously don't mean, to hurt me or anything over some shoes. But I mean, common sense, you'd be like, all right, nah,
it doesn't feel right.
I don't feel too good about this. But he didn't need to say that I'm gonna rob you or I'm gonna do anything to you or even anything. You just from a distance, not even seeing or anything, you're just like, all right, that doesn't sound like a good situation, doesn't feel like a good situation. So I can either do that or not. And some people don't even have that, believe it or not.
Right.
Some people just,
That goes back to the intuition. It tells you, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So in a way, words can mean all these things or whatever, but I truly believe in the sense of feeling. Like someone could tell you everything that you want to hear, but then in a sense you can
It can be wrong.
feel that they're,
Yeah.
that's how I feel. I go off of feeling. And sometimes if you can't trust your true inner feeling, then I mean, who can you trust?
Right.
Right, exactly that, exactly that. So
Now,
I
do you?
mean, I've
Go ahead.
I've gone into meditation sessions where I'm just like, and they're playing music and I jive with it and it's awesome, it's great. And then I join other meditation sessions where it feels like very ritual
Yeah,
and
it all depends on
very
what you're going in
ritualistic.
for.
And if I find it too ritualistic, I don't jive with it,
Gotcha.
you know.
I guess
Because
maybe
Um,
that's
all
where I was
about what
leading
you
to. I
want.
think my intuition. I guess that's what I was leading to. Is for me, I'm not gonna get into a deep meditative state intuitively and repeat
But
mantras that I have no idea what they mean. Because to me,
yeah,
my intuition tells me right off the rip, don't do
I'm
that.
gonna
Why
I'm
would
gonna
you
sit
do
there
something
and
you don't even
say,
know what you're saying?
if
See,
it's think about
I
it,
respect that.
there's two
well,
different. There's a mantra, kind of like words, and there's sounds. Because the
right.
universe is created by sound and
yes,
vibration.
yes.
Yep.
So if you're imitating the vibration, you yourself are becoming an instrument.
Right.
So therefore,
Now, what if you're
when you're
imitating
putting
a negative vibration and you don't know that,
exactly,
and they're
but
telling you it's a good one, they're
That's
gonna help you.
yes.
exactly, but you'll always know. So in
Right.
a sense, if you don't feel like it's right, then in a sense, you're like, I know this isn't right.
Yeah.
I'm
Get
gonna
away
do it
from
my
it.
way. But
Yeah.
also, it helps on what you're going in for. So,
Right.
like, what are you meditating for? What are you trying to gain? What are you trying to obtain? What are you trying to see or do? Or, and a lot of people go in for different things.
Of
I go
course.
in sometimes just to have fun.
And that's where the and that's where the ego comes in. Let's bring this conversation back to the ego, and that's where the ego comes in because you don't
I was gonna
pray,
say I missed a lot, huh?
you don't pray for the I want, and you don't meditate for the want, for the need. You don't do that. You
Yeah.
meditate and you pray for the given, and by given you receive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Does
always
that
receive.
does
I've
that
always been
resonate?
told
Does that resonate?
I've
I
always
heard
been told pray for
Does that
somebody
resonate?
else and receive what you pray for.
I heard a story, and
That's right.
I heard a story, and I can't remember exactly where I heard it, but it's in one of the lectures I watched. But the story goes, God
Mike, that was a good one. That was a
gave.
good one, Mike. Sorry.
Oh yeah, but anyways, God gave the 12. So and this goes into astrology, ego, and all of that. So there were 12 signs, and the 12 signs, Capricorn, Pisces, etc., they were all given a gift. And God said, here, this is your gift. Use it in whichever way, and this is this gift I made for you. But in time, you're gonna come back and you're gonna try to exchange this gift. But in the end, you're gonna want your gift back. And so all the signs went out and they're doing whatever they're doing, living all this. And then one sign comes back, I don't want this gift, this, trades it. And then another comes, trades, and they're trading gifts back and forth. But in the very end, it always comes back to them wanting their gift back. But people, in a sense, for me, I got that story in such an in-depth meaning because I read some chapters from the Bible, all the different religious texts, and it says you have to understand your gifts, and
Yep.
your gifts aren't certain things that you might even recognize. Where kindness is a gift, forgiveness itself is a gift.
Mm,
Being able to do things like that, those are gifts that that some men barely can even wield.
Right.
And some people don't even understand having those gifts. They don't see them as gifts. as some people see it as flaws, some people see it as they're too this or too that. But
Yep.
at the end of the day, if you don't realize that those are gifts, then you're not using what the Most High has given to you.
Mm.
Right.
You know, and a lot of ego comes into play where it's like, okay, if you see someone, oh, I wish my life was like that person, without seeing the other side of what someone's going through or whatever, you can be like, you know what, I want to be like that rich guy I just seen. I want to have all these cars, all this. Next, you know, you wake up the next morning, you're that guy. You wake up in your bed, there's no one around.
Yep.
Yep.
In your phone, there's all business contacts, there's no one, no family, no nothing. And in your old life, you had everything. You had a family, you might have had a small apartment,
Yep.
might not, you didn't have much, but to that person you had everything.
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense, you know, you never can look outside of yourself and say that's me or that's what I want, because you are everything you already need. You are everything. You just need to realize it, and ego blocks you. That's like you're blocking yourself in a way from seeing who you truly are.
100%.
Yeah,
That's
you know?
perfect. You're playing that character. You want to be the other character you just saw because you think that it's a good character for you.
Yep. Yep. The person that has the truck wants the sedan. The person that has the sedan wants the truck. Well, you know what? The guy's on the bike and he says, "Shit, I wish I had a shit box." You know, and then there's a guy walking and says, "Damn, I wish I had a bike." And then there's another guy walking. He's walking with crutches because he only has one leg, and he says, "Man, I wish I had two legs." And there's another guy in a wheelchair. And he says, "Man, I wish I had legs." And then there's another guy saying, "Man, I wish I had arms."
It goes on and on and on. People don't realize that because it's all about me, 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 me.
And that's the me is what, Akeem?
Yes.
Ego.
Ego.
Ego. That's exactly what it is.
That's what it all comes back to. It's all about me. It's only happened to me. This. My life is terrible. But looking outside yourself, there's a kid in a bed in a hospital that probably won't make it home to their family.
Yep.
You know, thinking about certain things like that at a drop of a dime humbles you. It
100%.
humbles your whole reality, because you got to realize, in a world where you can stump your toe on something and that can make your whole entire day worse, there's people going through so much worse. Some people don't have a place to rest their head. Some people don't even have food to eat. And
even only that, you could even go with stumping your toe. There's people out there that stump their toe that shatter their whole foot.
Exactly.
Like, their bones are so brittle that they stump
so
your toe like we do, and their whole foot's gone, dude. Like, they can't even walk anymore.
And people don't think about that. People think about the small things because that's what ego teaches you to think of. And therefore, you're kind of like a squirrel gathering all of this food and all of this for yourself for winter and all of that. And then imagine you go out gathering food and a tree falls on you, fall out the tree, die, whatever. And now all your food's just gone to waste because you were just thinking about yourself.
Can I give you another example of what you just said? Because it came to me instantly when I heard that. You all know Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V?
Yeah. I've seen a couple.
Mike, I know you know Gary V. John, you know Gary V? Gary Vaynerchuk?
Videos.
Well, here's a cool story from Gary V. Hold on. Oh my God, why do I keep doing this? I had it and I lost it instantly. Don't mind me. Akeem, what did you just say? What did you just say?
A million miles per hour right now.
I was over here. And I was just thinking about what Akeem was talking about, and thinking about, you know, the ego and the death and all that stuff, and I just was brought back to a conversation I had today on Facebook. I saw a picture where someone said, you know, just getting the worst news, you know, when you find out your father's unresponsive, you know. And I found out that one of my birth sisters down in Florida commented. So I thought it was her dad instantly, which would be, I don't know how I want to put that, my birth mother's husband. So I thought it was him. So I said, "Oh my God, I hope everything's okay." I sent a group message to all my sisters down there. And like, "Oh, no, everything's fine. It's not us. It's one of our friends." I said, "Oh, it's that girl from the wedding." But instantly I was relieved because it wasn't them. But I'm thinking, why should I be relieved? Because there's still another person. You know what I mean? There's still another person there.
Yeah.
So I went to
person
that.
that's in
I
that
went to that.
situation.
I went to that realization. I went to, oh my God, I'm so worried. I'm panicking. I'm praying. I hope everything's okay. I hope everything's okay. To instantly go, oh, okay. Well, everything is fine. It wasn't them. It was somebody else. But for that split moment, I don't know if I changed timelines or what, because I swear to God, I saw it and it was that post, and I instantly reached out and I texted and I went back and it wasn't there. And I'm like, did I just jump timelines?
Hmm.
You know? Did I? Because I swear it was my sister.
Because
It was my sister Sally that put up this post, saying that she wasn't prepared, and I put up the message. Oh my God, I hope everything's okay. And then I went back to check Facebook, and it wasn't there. And I'm like, wait, that was weird. It was there. It was just there. So then after that,
Hmm.
my sister replied, oh, were you talking about this girl's post? I said, oh my God, yeah, I found it now. Okay, well, thank God. So then I'm like, all right, everything's fine. So then I went to being relieved, but then I'm thinking, oh no, but now there's still someone else that's
yeah,
still suffering. So I'm like, all right, well, let's pray for this guy, you know? So, but there's that,
You were moving 5 million miles an hour like I just
yeah,
was, and I forgot. You
yeah,
you thought you
yeah.
saw your sister quick, you reacted fast, and you're like,
yeah,
oh wait, maybe it wasn't my sister's post.
right, right. But it was weird. It was like weird, man.
I got my
Strange.
thought back.
That's how it
Gary
works, man.
V.
That's how it works. That's how it
It's
works.
beautiful. It's beautiful. Dude, I just asked him, I'm like, dude, don't let me do this on my podcast. He's like, yeah, you got it. Gary V and Uber story. Ready? He talks about it all the time. Gary V had a chance to invest in Uber 3 times, and he shut it down 3 times. He's an investor. He wants to own the Jets. That's his biggest goal in life, is to own the Jets. He's a diehard Jets fan. If he invested in Uber, he'd be the Jets owner already. But here's the point. Someone asked him in an interview, like, why? Do you ever regret not investing in the Uber? Like, do you feel stupid about it? Like, you literally shut down what could have been billions, millions of dollars for you. Millions, like, easy. And you know what he says? He goes, not at all. He goes, I'm intuitive 100%. I live in the moment. He goes, I felt it was a bad investment the first time. The second time, I thought about it a little more. I thought it was a bad investment. The third time, I almost invested. And I was like, not yet. He goes, if I invested, guess what? I would have been filthy rich, richer than I already am. He goes, I probably would have went on a vacation with my family on a plane. My plane probably would have crashed, and it wouldn't have mattered. He's like, so no, I don't regret not making the decision to invest in Uber, because guess what? If you always think about what could have happened, you literally have no clue what could have happened. You don't know.
Yep.
When you make a choice, you have no idea which way the other way would have gone. You could think you know. When you're sitting there and you have a tough choice to make, you can think you know what the other outcome is going to be of the choice you don't make. You have no idea. And that's what he was painting that picture of, like, yeah, I could have invested, but then I could have been so happy with the money I got, and I could have died celebrating with the money I got. He's like, I didn't invest. I'm here. I'm happy as hell. He's like, it is what it is. And
Yeah, I think I remember that conversation. I think I remember that video, if I'm not mistaken. I think, yeah, that was a video we did a couple months back, I think.
No, that's a little while
A couple
back.
weeks
Probably,
ago.
yeah. Well, he might have done it again.
Yeah.
He talks about it often. It's a big story in his thing. And Gary Vee is very intuitive. Every time I hear him talking about his life story, it always reminds me of myself as a kid. Like, he, right from day one as a child, he just knew what was for him and what wasn't for him right away. Like, and we all have that, and a lot of us just don't listen to the intuition. It's there. Everyone has it. Like Akeem said, meet me in this back alley to sell those shoes. You know that is not a good idea,
right.
no matter what. But you really might need that $200 for those shoes so bad that
Right.
you're like, all right, I'm bringing my knife with me. But okay, but now you got your knife, and now you might kill somebody. Now your life's over. So now you lost the money and you lost your life. Was it worth it? No, not at all. Not at all. And you got to listen to that intuition. You got to. It's sometimes it's really, really hard because it takes you out of the normal society. But it brings you to much more beautiful places. 100%. Just got to go with the flow. With that, I don't have anything else on ego. I just was excited to do this podcast because it's like, we all have ego. We all have to get to that point. And again, the stage is, again, no ego to ego being built to its full effect. It's who you are. And you keep trying to reshape that to finally understand that it's not what you are. And you got to find out what you are and start all over.
I'm over here trying to figure
says
out
it
the
best.
whole.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, Jesus says it best.
Go
Go ahead. We both paused.
I'm
We're like,
over
all
here
right, you go.
trying
No,
to
you
figure out
go.
how the hell I jumped timelines. Holy shit, you know?
John said that before. Like, I know what I saw. It was my sister's post.
I know what I said. You have no idea. You have no idea.
I have more of an idea than you know.
Time and space is not absolute.
No, right.
You were in a different dimension. You were in John 500, and John 500 made a different vision.
I could have been in a different dimension when I looked at the phone the first time.
Yep.
Or did I move? Or did I physically move dimensions? That's what, you know. Holy shit! Or did my consciousness physically, you know, switch? Wow. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, these conversations are great.
Yep, they are.
They make
all right, everyone's got a one and done. We all gotta drop a gem. Who wants to go first? We're gonna all drop a gem and then we'll wrap it up.
All right.
Me? I gotta start?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, fine, I'll start. Fine. My gem is not related to ego fully. In a sense, it is. It's the heart. It's the post I posted earlier in the ARvibes community. The heart chakra is the key, the balance point to everything and to all your chakras. Because if you're working out of love, joy, happiness, forgiveness, gratitude, everything else is going to fall in place. It's hard to be a miserable person when you're living in gratitude, joy, like you're focused on it. You're feeling the love in everything around you. Everything else starts to align itself, I'm figuring out. So, and that's going to help you dissolve your ego too, working out of love, 100%. You see someone really struggling and you know you can help them, don't think you're better than them. Help them how you can. And that's my tip. Find your heart chakra. If you don't understand chakras at all in this community, look into the heart chakra, figure out everything you can about the heart chakra, and just focus on that to start. Most people say start the root chakra. When I do the ARvibes Journey Guide program, I usually start with the root and go up, which makes sense. But I'm changing my ways. I'm going heart, then I'm going back to root, and then work it up. Because the heart is, from my understanding, is the balance point. It's the key to get everything going. And that's the connection to, they say the crown's the connection to source. It is, but I feel like the heart is the love, is where everything is. The power is all inside there, and then it opens everything else up. So that's my gem. Find your heart, really understand the heart chakra, and live through it. Live through it, operate through it. That's my last gem for the night. Who's up? John, you're up.
Me. I was gonna see if we want to do a meditation. I was gonna see if we want to do a quick meditation at the end. If that's cool. But
how long has this been going? I don't mind. How long are we on so far? It doesn't even tell me how long it's been.
We've been going a quite little bit, dude.
Are we past 2 hours?
Probably,
yeah.
probably,
John, we'll save it for Friday.
Well, I mean, it's a quick one, but I mean, hold on.
Hey, if that's your gem, drop it. Let's get it. If that's your gem, let's do it.
We don't have to do that.
No, we can. If that's your closing remark, let's get it.
No. Let's see. What else do we got?
You want me to come back to you?
Yeah, come back.
Akeem, hit us with a final gem for this podcast, my man.
All right. Well, I'd say my final one is remember who you are. In all moments of doubt, in all moments of anything, remember to check your ego. Remember to check yourself. You don't have to wait for someone to check you. You don't have to wait for someone to put you in a place where you already know you are. So at the end of that, every day when you wake up, your first thought shouldn't be, what should I do to make anyone else happy? Your thought should be, no matter what cost, I'm going to be myself. In the face of anything, everything, I'm going to be me.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. Mike, what's your final gem? What are you putting us out on?
Mine is forgive everybody that helped you build your ego. Everywhere where it started, ever since you were a kid, forgive your parents, forgive your uncles, forgive your grandparents, forgive your sisters, your brothers, just forgive. And then from that point on, just start spreading love. That's all we can do. That's what it comes down to. And
I love that.
Yeah, definitely.
We all have different traumas. Forgiving is the way. 100%. I agree. Yep. And Mike, that ties right into the heart chakra comment. Forgiveness is one of the biggest emotions to the heart chakra. You got to forgive. Yeah. If not, you're always going to live with your ego. and in doubt and in anger and in fear and all those things. That's a beautiful one too. I like these. John, what do you close this out? You're the last one. Close this out, John. And if you
Close you
want to do
guys
that
out.
meditation, I'm down now. So don't. I shouldn't have said, "Oh, what time is it?" If you want to do it, you
I mean,
close us out on it.
we can do a quick meditation. So, I mean, I don't know if you guys got music that you want to put on.
We all
No?
got headphones in.
Create it.
Yeah, I need,
You want me to do a
can't.
sound bowl, a singing bowl while you walk us through?
Can we add stuff to this?
I don't think so because it's Zoom. I don't know about audio. No, you can't.
Turn on stand.
We don't need frequency. Get us into a state, John. Walk us through. Let's get it.
All right. So what we got here, where do I want to begin here? All right, so typically when I'm going to start meditating is we're going to do this. Guys, get in your position. You guys know I typically go across and put my hands up on my knees right here. Start at deep breaths and take a deep, slow breath. As you're breathing in, you're taking in the light. This light that comes down straight from the top of your head. It's like a spotlight. And as you exhale, you release the energy. You're taking in pure white light, releasing all the negative energy that you've accumulated during the day. All the bad thoughts, all the bad emotions that you've had. All the negative energies, thoughts that you've come into. Take another deep breath in and take more light in. Hold that up there and release that down. And as you release it out, you're releasing more of that energy. Spotlight's just coming straight down on you. You just feel that energy. It feels warm. You're aligning chakras by putting up your hand. Left hand I use as my receiving hand to take in energy. My right hand is my giving energy. As you take in this energy, you're going to see it go straight down into all your chakras. It's going to sit right at the pineal gland. As it sits there at the pineal gland, goes over to the third eye, comes straight down, hits your throat chakra, solar plexus, heart chakra, goes straight down, hits your final chakra. Now anchor that light straight down into the center of the earth. Goes deep down. Just barrels straight down through it like a drill. Just beam straight down through. Anchor it. Ride that cord straight up, all the way straight up through all your chakras. Go straight up through your crown. Right up to the sun. Anchor it. Focus on your breathing. Each deep breath you take gets slower and slower. More and more relaxed. Thoughts that come into your mind, you're thinking this, you're thinking that just gets pushed aside. There's no thoughts, there's no room for thoughts. Just blank canvas. Nothing there. There's no, am I doing this right? There's no, am I doing this wrong? There's no right, there's no wrong. Just be. Any outside noise that you hear just brings you in deeper, deeper. There's nothing there but the black canvas. See the light that comes down to you? That's all you can see is this light that's in around you. Feel this beam of light in this darkness. It's like a star in its own canvas. You can move around. You can make a trail. A shooting star. But it's just you. It's peaceful. It's quiet. When you're ready, you can see a door. It's a big door. Nice handles, ornate handles. You can open these handles and go inside, and you can see a long hallway. It's a long hallway. It's tall ceilings. Beautiful woodwork. Marble floor. Doors on both sides. These doors on both sides have stained glass windows. But nice heavy doors. Deep breath. Move down this hallway and we see a big bright light at the end of this hallway. This big bright light is enters this big oval room. Big sofa, nice table. There's bookshelves, floor to ceiling. The ceiling goes on to infinity in a spiral bookcase. There's a desk and there's a person there. It's a being, it's an entity. It could be whatever you want. Who is that person? What is that being? Do you know them? It's okay if you don't. It could be somebody you haven't met before. It could be somebody you do know. It's whoever you wish. It can just change. Dear God here. All these bookcases and all these books of knowledge, information that you have available to you. Those doors that you passed, those are your fragments, yourselves. You can visit any one of those at any time you wish. We can sit here and study and learn. It's whatever you want. There is a room that you can go into that can give you a life review. If you do want to shed your ego, you can ask this being to show you how. You will. It will. She will. It will. We will. We will. To do with us. At this time, I'm going to say you can stay here as long as you like. Take as much time to reflect, gain insight, knowledge, information. Have fun, explore. This is what you came for. This is your imagination. This is your playground. It is your reality. You can make it what you want. I leave. I'm back. You guys can stay. I am back. So if you do want to come back, you guys can take a deep breath. Clear out your energies, shake your hands, bring your energies back into your body. Get grounded again if you need to. Feel your feet underneath the grass. Or on the floor. Rub your body, rub your skin. Get back in here. Feel your own energy. Bring it back. I'm here with you guys. All right. Alex is still there. Mike, how you doing?
Good.
Keen.
Yeah.
I'm crying.
I'm crying too, man. I'm
I cry when
crying
I
too.
fucking meditate on
I'm
accident.
crying
Well,
too.
on
Yeah,
accident.
I'm crying too.
Happened.
Yeah, I got it, man. I got it.
Nice.
That's how you know you got a pure connection.
Oh yeah, for sure. When I pray too.
So, they really came through with me on that one. There was moments of that where it wasn't me, it was them, and I picked up on it when I repeated myself, I, we, I, him, her. That's when I picked up on it. That's when I realized, once again, shedding the ego, getting the ego out of it. It's getting yourself out of it to allow the connection to come in.
Yep.
Yeah, that's perfect example of shedding the ego. How can I say? I'll leave you with that.
Thank you for that, John.
I don't know. How was that meditation? I mean, how do you guys feel? Because that's how I connect every time. And for me, it's instant. It's and half the time I don't have to go through that whole motion. It's once you make that connection, all I have to do now is just really days off. And like I'm a space cadet, but I'm really connected at this point. You might see a lot of people out in public and they look like they're total space cadets, but they're probably more connected than anybody you'll ever meet, because they're having those conversations and you just don't know it,
Forgot about my pouch.
I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know, but yeah, how's the meditation for you guys? I did, yeah. What do you
Good for
see?
me.
I mean, did you experience anything?
I like the visit of your house.
Okay. Okay.
There was 2 points where it was funny. Not you, just sometimes my meditations get weird. There was two points. At one point, you said that you get down the hallway, the Oval Room. For some
Yep.
reason, I went straight to the Oval Office in the White House. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here? I'm like, I don't want to be in the White House. And then the only other thing,
That's awesome.
it threw me off. It threw me off because I was starting to get really centered. Is you skipped one of the chakras, and I was like, but then you went back to it, and I was like, all right, he got it. And then I went deep in, and when I went deep in I love the hallway because I like to do the journey meditations, like to visualize the journeys.
Yes.
And when I got down in the hallway, I saw the White House, and then instantly I was like, clear this out. And then it was the bookcase is what brought me back. When you said the bookcase, that's what brought me back. I'm like, all right, I'm not in the White House.
See, for me, that I always start with the pineal gland first. Because I stopped myself there too. I kind of paused myself there too because I knew I wanted to go chakra first, but I went pineal gland first, only because when I meditate, I focus inward.
Yeah.
I focus inward and then forward and then down and then
Yeah,
out and then out and then I go out and I just fucking rock it. I just go. Excuse my
sometimes,
language.
yeah, I honestly I observe the energy, and I
Yeah.
bounce it back and forth through my chakras, kind
Oh
of
yeah.
like the infinity
Yeah.
symbol, and it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and that energy is just keep going, going, building and building, and just keeps flowing like synergy in
Yeah.
a way.
So when and another way I meditate is when I go like this, I'm bringing in the energy. What I'm doing when I'm doing this and I'm envisioning this is I'm envisioning the energy coming up from me, this light up here, and I'm bringing that light down, and I'm bringing that light through, and I'm hitting all the chakras here, and I'm going down and hitting all the chakras, and then I'm bringing it here at like right here, and then I push it down, and then I anchor it, and then I bring it up. And see, I mean, I'm using muscle here, I'm using energy, I'm using force, but and when I do that, I feel it in my body. I feel
Yeah.
the energy I'm creating with my muscles
Yeah,
and everything,
because build
So
it up.
exactly because
Yeah,
it's like I'm charging myself. I'm
and that goes
I'm
into
charging
the
it up.
kundalini, the energy serpent.
Kundalini. Yeah. Yo, the chakras are little batteries, John. When you said charging, that was the best way. The energy batteries. You're charging your batteries.
So then I got I'm imagining myself squeezing a ball right now, and I'm just squeezing it so hard, and I can't squeeze it anymore. And that's a big energy ball that I got here, and I work it, and by spinning it, I'm charging it up, and so whatever my intent is, love, light, healing for everybody that's here, everybody that's here gonna be watching, they're gonna get love, light, healing, and then I just release it up. And it goes up, and now it's in the ether, and everybody that's watching, everybody that will be watching, receives that love, light, healing. You know, as long as they're watching, it's it's weird.
Being
I
open
didn't
to too.
I didn't think that I'd be talking like this, um, shit, 6 months
Hey, I
ago.
like it. My favorite
I didn't think
meditation,
I'd be talking like this at
visualization.
all. What happened?
I like that. I was saying my favorite meditation. Like I do all different types of meditation. Visualization meditation is hands down my favorite. I'm a very visual person. I always have been since I was a kid. I was that kid that would play full basketball games in my driveway. Like Kobe down by 3, comes down, he gets fouled. I'd go to the free throw line. Like I would have a whole fucking game in my head by myself. Just I've always been very visual my whole entire life. So I love visualization meditations. Like those are my favorite. I like silent meditation. I like yoga type meditations too.
I mean, could you feel yourself as like you were able to, like, if you were to stay in that state, how long would you stay?
Oh, I could. Oh, like when Akeem said he did some 6-hour meditations.
Right.
Off the top of my head, I think the longest I've done is a 4-hour meditation. Like there was one day when I was talking to you, I did a long one. Was it 4 or 5 hours? Do you remember me telling you? It was like months ago, Mike.
Every time I'm
Oh,
talking,
geez,
I'm
I
in
don't
meditation
remember.
state.
I don't
I don't
remember,
do the
but I know that
long meditations. Let's like commit to like, hey, no one bother me all day. Like
I,
I'm going for a long time. Leave me alone. Usually I
yeah,
try to get like
exactly. Yeah,
20 minutes to 45 minutes in if I
you
can.
hit me up after, but like for me, the meditative state, like it all depends, honestly. I know that for me, ever since I was younger, I've been able to close my eyes and
Get there.
a see a dot. You know what I mean? I was able to see a color or something. It could have been red, it could have been orange, it could have been blue, it could have been yellow, it could have been it's all the colors of the chakras that I know now. I know that now, but when I was
And
younger,
the
I didn't
electromagnetic
know.
field. I
I
gotta point that out too.
exactly. I had no clue what it was when I was younger, and now I've noticed that anytime that I close my eyes and it's a certain color, I gotta align that chakra. I gotta make sure that's balanced. So I just ask God to balance it, and boom, it changes color. And if it's all balanced, then it just rotates in the color of all the chakras. It's
Hmm.
fucking amazing. It's anytime I close my eyes. anytime.
No,
It
that
doesn't
goes
matter.
back to Keith talking about gifts, because like
Yeah.
that's very specific for meditation. Like that's a good gift to have right there. You're getting directed right to what chakra needs work just by closing your eyes. Like I get to a quick meditative state, but I get a white light sometimes, often. It's never colorful for me. It's always
when
like
I fully
like open, like it's
when
telling
I
me to open it in a
exactly
sense.
yeah when I fully okay now say if I fully sit there and they're all aligned and I sit there for a little bit, that's when boom, that white light happens and all of a sudden
Okay.
I'm there. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
but if I just need to align them real quick, I could do that at any point in the day. It doesn't
Yep.
matter. You can change yourself at any point in the day. It
100%.
takes just as quick as it takes you to change. It takes you to change back.
Yeah.
But all right, that
Every
definitely
day's a new day. Leave it better than you found it. I feel like it's
that meditation was great though. Definitely that it lasted a lot longer than we all thought it was going to.
it's all right.
It doesn't
It's all
bother
right.
me at all.
This is a long podcast. People are like, damn, they talked about ego for 3.5 hours. Like, you know
For real.
You can break it up. You can break
it.
it
And you
up.
got a meditation at the end. Look at you, viewer.
Nah, we got to keep it the way it is. I'm gonna tag some people in this. Honestly, I'm gonna get our name out there for that treatment center thing because I'm gonna talk to my buddy Ian. Honestly.
Sweet. Next week we might the viewers are still listening. Damn it. Next week we might have a special guest for an interview. Like we've had some interviews on the podcast. So next week might not be all of us. It might be an actual interview with somebody. Not set yet. And if not, you'll see some of us again. And we'll talk about another topic. We'll be back next Wednesday. So guys, thank you for joining us for the ARvibes podcast. I hope you guys are enjoying the weekly content. I'm sorry we missed last week. It was the election. No lies. We were, at least myself, I was very distracted. I'm like, I need to see what happens. I wasn't like stuck in the space, but I still live in this world and I want to just kind of see what happens. So I was like curious and it was in my mind. I didn't want to do a podcast when something else was on my mind. So we'll be back every week and next week we'll hit you another good topic. So stay tuned and thanks for joining us. Thanks for the love and support. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like the content, please. Share it if you find it relevant. It's the only way we're going to get out there more is if you guys are helping us grow this YouTube page here, the community. So thank you guys again, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks, guys, for joining me for the night.
Have a good one.
Love you guys.
Love you too, brother.